New York Times report reveals sharp rise in transgender young people in the U.S. Now, why might that be? All of a sudden, for the first time in recorded history in the Western world, we have a sharp rise of young people saying that they are not their sex. It shows you the power of society. Hillary Clinton was right. It takes a village to raise a child. I can't stand her village. That was my position, but she was right. Conservatives who instinctively have contempt for Hillary Clinton, which I do too, nevertheless, we're not capable, because of that instinct, to assess the actual terminology. She is absolutely right, and I said it at the time. It takes a village to raise a child. So conservatives said, oh, no, parents raise children. It's not true, my friends. Parents raise children, and so does the village. And if your village is rotten, it will have a terrible effect on your child. The village, known as the school, is generally rotten. You don't want to acknowledge it. You don't have to. You're taking a very big risk with your child. Parents who would not allow their kids to go on a seesaw or jump off a diving board will nevertheless send them to a school, a regular school, private or public. Pete Hegseth was my guest yesterday. It was a great hour, actually. He's written a book on education. And I asked him, so what do you recommend parents do? And without hesitation, he said, take your kids out of school. That's correct. Parents will gamble with their children's character and psychology, but be afraid if their kid didn't wear a mask if their kid was 5. The reason for the vast number of new transgenders in the United States among young people is because society has told them, if you have any issues, you might really not be a girl. That's right. That's the sick stuff that they're taught at school. It's encouraged. You'll be popular. You'll stand out. You'll solve your problems. Sounds great to a lot of kids. The number of young people who identify as transgender, and this is with a pro-transgender kids newspaper, the New York Times. The number of young people who identify as transgender has nearly doubled in recent years. The analysis, relying on government health surveys conducted from 2017 to 2020, estimated that 1.4% of 13 to 17-year-olds and 1.3% of 18 to 24-year-olds were transgender, compared to about 0.5% of all adults. So I assume 1.4% is 3 times 0.5%. Is that fair? So 3 times as many kids, that is under 17-year-old, are saying they are not the sex they were born than in the population generally. 3 times as many. You think that increase is natural, or do you think that increase is induced by the sick world of the left and the sick world of your schools? I wonder how many kids who are in a religious school, I mean seriously religious, not has the name Christian or Jewish and just has woke values, or how many kids who are homeschooled are transgender? Wouldn't that be interesting? Is that enough to make you consider homeschooling? Or are you perfectly comfortable with the idea that your daughter will say she's a boy when she's 13? It says, it's interesting, 0.5% of all adults in America are transgender. That means 1 out of every 200 adults in America says that they are not the sex that they are biologically. Do you believe that?
No.
I don't believe that either. Especially since it comes from government health surveys. Experts said that young people increasingly have the language and social acceptance to explore their gender identities. Oh, is that a great sentence? Do you know that this sentence would have not been understood at any time in Western history prior to 10 years ago? Maybe 5 years ago? Young people increasingly have the language and social acceptance to explore their gender identity. I'm curious, do you want your child to explore his or her gender identity or affirm it? Whereas older adults may feel more constrained. Poor older adults. But the numbers, which vary widely from state to state, now, whoa, that's an interesting point. Why would it vary state to state if it's a natural phenomenon? Hey, folks, what do you think? Also raise questions about the role of peer influence. Well, that's an honest line in the New York Times. Or the political climate of the community. It's developmentally appropriate for teenagers to explore. This is the best. This is worth the price of a New York Times subscription. The very next sentence. It's developmentally appropriate for teenagers to explore all facets of their identity. That is what teenagers do. Really? When I was a teenager, we didn't do that. I didn't explore whether I was really a girl. I explored what it meant to become a man from a boy. It's better time.